Okay, so what I'm going to do is quickly go over the dimensioning tool. Now, it's not so much the dimensioning tool as much as it is just how to dimension. Okay, the dimension tool itself is pretty simple and straightforward. So I'm going to go to the quickest and easiest way is to just use the go up to the quick access toolbar up at the top, and it's this icon right here. Okay, but if you want to get explore different kind of dimensioning tools, we could go to the annotate tab. And here we have all sorts of dimensions, or dimensioning commands. So we could do aligned, we could do linear, angular, radial, dimension, arc, length, and then we have some elevation dimensioning that we could use as well. Now, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I'm always using the aligned dimension, which is the same one that's up here in the quick access toolbar. But you also have these options. Linear just gives you a straight linear dimension. So if you wanted to dimension a wall that is at an angle, but you wanted to do it in a linear way as opposed to a line, then you would choose that. And then angular is the angle itself. Okay. So so we go to the annotate tab and select the dimension if you wanted to explore something other than the aligned dimension. But as I mentioned, most of the time you're just going to click up here to the aligned dimension or use the shortcut key DI on the keyboard. Now, when I click on that, you'll notice I get the same exact options that we were just covering under the Annotate tab. Okay. Now, the only real setting you need to adjust is right up here in the options bar where it says modify place dimensions, and then we have this pull down where it says wall center lines. So this is just asking where do we want to dimension to, okay, to and from. Are you going to mention from wall center line to wall center line, faces to faces, wall faces or faces of core, center of core, right? What do you want to dimension to? What do you want Revit to snap to when it's dimensioning? At this point, this is where you're going to want to reference other drawings, right? It really depends on where you're at and where you're drawing this. If you're in an office, then check in with the office and see what the office standards are. If you're following a set of as-built drawings, so a set of existing drawings, then see where their dimensions are taken from. If this is a completely brand new project and you are the one creating these, then it's really up to you. I mentioned in the past when we were talking about the walls, how the benefit of dimensioning to the faces of core as opposed to the faces of the wall, right? So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and select faces of core. That's what I'm going to dimension to. Now to dimension, it's going to simply just come on in. You want to make sure that you dimension to the correct line. Okay, that's the face. Even though we set this to faces of core, we still will get other options. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm on the wall face. So it's a click once, and then click to finish. So click to start, let go of the mouse, and then click again to finish. And then we move the mouse out and then click to complete the dimension. Okay, so it's 3 clicks, 1 to start, 1 to finish, and then the start of the dimension, the end of the dimension, and then the finish, or to finish the actual dimension line. Okay, so dimensioning itself is pretty simple and straightforward in Revit. That's not really what I wanted to cover though. Dimensioning is an art form, okay? What I mean by that is that there's an actual style, there's an actual way of dimensioning, and it's really, really tricky to try to fit all of the dimensions, to remember to dimension everything, and to get it to fit within the tightest and cleanest kind of space available. I'm not even sure if we have the sheet set up yet. Yeah. On a drawing sheet, I'm gonna just quickly, just so you could see what this thing looks like. When we place these drawings on a final sheet, you'll notice that we oftentimes don't have a whole lot of space. So we have some space up at the top, we have some space on the bottom, and we clearly have a lot of space on the left and the right. What is missing on the sheet is all of the general notes, all of the keynotes, any additional contractor notes, structural engineering notes. On every drawing, there's always a lot of notes that pertain to the actual drawing itself. Okay. So even though it looks like we might have a whole lot of space, at the end of the day, you don't have a lot of space, and you have to try to dimension it you have to dimension the entire building, and you can only do it, and you only have so much space. In addition to that, um, you don't have a whole lot of space on the interior as well to dimension. Okay, so the key is to do it in a clear and compact way. So let's go to the first floor. We follow within the profession a kind of dimensioning standard, and that is the 3-tier system. A 3-tier system does 3 lines of dimensioning. And when it comes to your exterior walls and dimensioning your exterior of the building, you want to try to do it all within 3 sets of lines. Okay, and all those lines are aligned, they're clean, and it's continuous. And so that's what we're going to try to do. So the first set dimension, first line is always going to be your overall dimension. So that means from one wall all the way to the farthest wall. So I'm going to click over here on that wall. I'm going to click down here, okay, to there. I'm going to move my cursor, and this is my largest or my longest dimension. Okay. Now you'll notice that I placed it far out, and it's the overall length of the entire building. That's the first string. The second string is any bumps or cuts or jogs, essentially any corner in the wall itself, okay? And this is just of the wall. So I'm not referring to the corner where the door and the wall meet. I'm just saying the full run and the full length of this one wall. So I'm going to use the dimension tool again. And I'll go from that point down to this point. Now with in Revit, we actually have the opportunity or the option to continue to dimension. So instead of coming straight out, what I'm going to do is come down here and I'm going to click, and you'll see that it ties this dimension string together. And I'll come over here and I'll click right there. And it's not until I'm done clicking on reference points, so like on the face core. Right? Once I bring it out, then Revit will recognize that, okay, you're done with this dimension line. Now, the other thing that's great is that if I move my cursor, right now I don't have anything clicking, by the way. So I'm just moving the mouse left and right. I'm not pressing down on any button. If I move my cursor, you'll see that it kind of snaps. Okay, so it's going to snap, and that's there to help you. So now go ahead and click. That's there to help you in keeping your dimensions close enough without overriding or without crossing or overlapping the first dimension. So here what we have now is the overall and then the length of each wall. And then the final tier is any additional openings that is within these walls. Okay, so we would go here to the actual opening, which is right there, then to the other side of that opening, and then to the other side of this wall. Now you want to be consistent. Notice that with this dimension, I didn't dimension to the interior, right? To the inside of that core face. I dimensioned to the outside because that's where my dimension above is going to. So now, let's see here. Now, if I take a look here, I know that the overall length here is 32 feet 6 inches. Okay, And now I can see all of the openings that are along this wall. Okay, so that's 26.4, 3 foot 2, and 2 feet 11 and a half. Okay. So just to continue, do one more set. I would go from this line there to the opening, and then again to this opening, and then to finish it off to this side of the wall. The other thing too is notice that when I move my cursor to this point of the wall, nothing is selected. So it's not until I move my cursor to this side, this portion of the wall. So essentially I'm trying to grab this wall here, not the end of this wall, because this is the end there and it's not selecting it. So I have to move the cursor down. And now the face of the core turns blue. So I'll click right there. And I want to align them. Okay. So this is what I mean, that you want to be able to have all of your dimensions aligned. Okay. That go all the way down. The last thing you want is to have some sort of dimension, to have one dimension there. Oops, let's go. And then another one from there to there. And then there to there. Okay. You do not want this. It gets messy. You're gonna, at the end of the day, you're gonna have a whole lot of lines everywhere. And then it makes it very difficult for a contractor to read and understand the dimensions. Okay. You have to remember that these dimensions are given to people who have not worked on the project. Okay. At this point, you might feel very comfortable with this project because you're the one who designed it and constructed it and drew it up and modeled it out. So you know this project very, very well. But you're then going to give this set of drawings to someone who has never seen it. And so they are going to have an information overload. And so you want to simplify as much as you can to help those individuals really understand your intention and what it is you're trying to do. Okay. So this is the 3-tier system. After this, then you move into the interiors. And from the interiors, you try to just kind of dimension in such a way that is the least, how do I say this, obstructive to the drawing. Okay. In other words, I don't want to see all sorts of dimensions everywhere because then I'm going to lose sight of what's what. If you begin to see lines going in different, I don't know, if you begin to see all sorts of lines in different areas, then you can see that it starts to get confusing. Okay, so instead what you want to try to do, just delete these. Oops, I deleted the section marker, which I don't want to do. I'm just clicking and hitting the delete key on the keyboard. Instead, what you want to do is keep that same kind of principle. I want all of these lines or all of these dimensions to follow the same line. So maybe something like that. Okay, so all of this makes it easier for the contractor. Now, in a floor plan, when we dimension, what we're dimensioning is essentially the layout of the building. Okay, it is all horizontal dimensions. So if you put yourself in a room, we are dimensioning, from one wall to the next wall. We do not show elevation dimensions in a floor plan. In other words, we don't show the height. So in this floor plan, I have no idea how tall this door is. I have no idea how tall this window is or where the window starts. And I don't really try to show that here. That's where we go to an elevation. So the elevation, what we do is we'll dimension the actual height. Oops. Getting stuck with the wood siding. goes again. This is the tricky part. So I have to really zoom in. It wants to grab one of these other lines. So let me just get really close in. There we go. Make sure I don't select any line. And then from there, maybe I would go something like that. Oh, there it goes again. Go from there. Let me zoom in, click there. So in an elevation, this is where we dimension heights, and it is only heights. We do not dimension lengths, okay? Or we don't dimension any horizontal distances, because this horizontal distance should already be shown in the floor plan. So we don't want to show a horizontal dimension on a floor plan, on an elevation, or on a section. Okay, elevations and sections are dedicated for height dimensions. Okay, so the vertical dimensions. Floor plans are dedicated for length and width. Okay, of rooms and spaces. So that goes when that's the same when I go into a section. I am only dimensioning the heights. I do not dimension. I would not dimension a horizontal dimension in a section or in an elevation. That again is for the floor plan. Okay, so that's it. That's all I'm covering for the dimensioning. Hopefully that helps in organizing your dimensions.